Welcome back everybody to the Association. In today's video we're going to be taking a free cam tour through our childhood house, right? This is something that we were supposed to do after we built it, and we went straight to rendering the house. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. There are some stories to tell, so hope you guys don't frown on that, because you know your childhood house, your first car, they're gonna have stories, right? So yeah, let's start at the foyer. Obviously, that's where we're at, and we've got this cool little, decorative mirror. And my great aunt, she hated this mirror. It was all plasticky, and she just wasn't a fan of it. But ironically, she had one of her her own. I still can't talk. In her house, in her foyer. So yeah, hypocrisy at its finest, I guess. So we have these double doors. These are supposed to be folding doors, and we realized when we did the folding door tutorial that yeah, they were indeed double doors and not folding doors. Sorry, Gary. Gary's the gentleman who inquired about the folding doors and where to find them. So hey, maybe he'll see this video. In our house, we had just an open living room area. This, we modeled a living room with a dinette area. And I didn't think just having a whole living room it wouldn't look right. Now the house next door on the other side of this gray wall had a living room and dining room, and the dining room looked like this. So that's what we did. We just modeled a dining area so it would look better, right? That seemed to make sense to us. Yeah, I really liked it. It worked out really well. I was surprised that I could find that chandelier. That was amazing. Alright, moving over into the living room. So we got some cool stuff here to talk about. Specifically with the stereo and the television. My voice is going already. Oh man, maybe we'll stop doing voiceovers. Anyway, so maroon couch or burgundy couch. Yep, it was 75. Okay, it was 1975. Get a free pass on that. Anyway, I want to talk about this TV. So we made this with an existing model, and we made it into a console TV or floor model TV, whatever suits your fancy. Anyway, my two brothers, my older brothers, they rented the television from Best TV, and for my mom's birthday. Fast forward about 4 months, and I was down here watching cartoons. I was eating some snacks. My mom was making breakfast. There's a knock on the door. My mom answers the door. I'm standing behind her. It's Best TV. They're here to take and I come back and I sit here and I'm watching cartoons, not knowing what they were really here for. And they yeet the plug out, and they grab one side and the other, and they just carry the TV out. Just like that. I mean, it was done in seconds. And I'm sitting there like eating my snacks, and I was watching that. Anyway, so yeah, they took the TV, and we did replace it about a month or two later. We purchased one outright, or we went. Well, I don't think we went back to them. I don't know. I was a kid. I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, right? Pardon me. A little bit of water because there's a frog in my throat already. Anyway, this stereo, this was really cool. Now back then you could get a TV stereo combination with the TV screen, your CRT, in the middle of the TV, in the middle of the stereo there, right? And so you had both. This was a standalone stereo, which back then you would, it was kind of, common to have furniture that looked like that was inside of a stereo, or a stereo inside of the furniture. Pardon me. Same with the floor model TV. It was like you would have different decorative stuff on it, and but that stereo gave me a lot of memories. It really did. And in no time did we have that stereo all the way. I always wanted to turn the stereo all the way up, and we could not get it all the way up. I mean, that stereo had so much watts per channel. It was amazing. And when I was a teenager, I tried to crank that stereo and I couldn't crank it. It was really loud. And it rocked. And I get so many memories from that stereo with different genres and mostly R&B, soul, rock, some jazz. So much Monk came out of that stereo, and Ellington, and yeah. Anyway, it was good times. I got a lot of memories from that stereo. There was supposed to be a ceiling light there, but we already modeled the chandelier, and there's only one light per living space. So since there was already one there, we didn't put one there. But I was confused about that, and that's why I was looking up. Anyway, so we do have a saying on the channel, and that is, if you can't find it, design it. And so we created this washer and dryer. It is really hard to find a top load washer and dryer, or washing machine. There are some front loads, but again, they're hard to find as well. So it took us, we spent a week modeling this, and then we moved on. We wanted to do the labeling, the cycles, and all that, the high temperature for the dryer, and all. We ran out of time. We wanted to move on, so we did. And so yeah, we started doing the kitchen here. Now, this is a mid-century build house. This stuff is not mid-century, right? I can tell you the cabinet there, or the drawers on the right, they were cabinets. And how do we know that? I used to go over here and get peanut butter from this cabinet with a little tablespoon or a teaspoon every couple hours when my mom wasn't looking, and I would rinse it out halfway in the sink and just throw it back in the drawer. Kid stuff. Nobody drank coffee in the house, but it looks cool. Same with the microwave. Microwaves were probably a few years from hitting the shelves. So there was no microwave, just the oven. Yeah, kitchen table here. I think I got the chairs almost period correct with the chair, the fabric on the chairs, or it wasn't fabric, it's like a wrapping, whatever. I don't know what you call it. It wasn't fabric. This refrigerator, by the way, the apples there. My mom loves apples, so we had to do that. This is not a mind trick. The refrigerator is not upside down. I think it's an Armana, is what it was. And the fridge was up top, and the freezer was at the bottom, which was great, until you wanted to put ice in the freezer or get ice out, and then you're going to have to assume the position to do that. It's just hilarious. So this, this phone, not relevant to the tour, but these were called princess phones. And we were going to model them, but we were just running out of time. So this is the best thing that we could find. Later, they became known as trimline phones, which was more of a more well-known name for the phone, for the landline phones. Anyway, that's that. That's the bottom. That's the first floor of our little childhood home. Let's go upstairs. We're gonna make 2 stops on the way up. Right. So I made a mistake one day there's a plant landing here, and I made the mistake of asking my mom, when is dinner ready? I went in the kitchen and I asked her, and it didn't go well for me. So this plant landing was a great way to look out and see and get a good update, a perfect update as when dinner was going to be ready, without having any issues come my way, right? So now, because of the high foot traffic in this house, the stairs here, the carpet on the stairs, it wrinkled up, it kind of binded or kinked up at the top, and I fell down the stairs more often, times that I can count. I also I used to sleepwalk, and it wasn't for a long time. It was maybe like 6 months or something. But I fell down the stairs and ended up with my back against that window, looking up at the stairs, wondering how I got there. Didn't break anything, didn't have to go to the ER. Thankfully, everyone was asleep in the house. I just walked back up with my drowsy eyes, got back up in the bed, and I was on the top bunk, mind you. I don't know how I got out of the top bunk and down the stairs, but it happened. It is a true story. So, let's fast forward, or let's rewind to when this house was, when we moved into this house. So it was the fall of the year, and I know that because the clocks had gone back. We had a 6 o'clock showing, and the lights, there's no lights in the bedrooms, right? Guys got a flashlight. Now, there was one room that had a light in it, and that was the bathroom. You guys may be able to finish the story before I do. Alright, so we go in here. Now, the one thing that is also missing is a window in the bathroom. There's no window in here, right? And if you know anything about that, then you know you're gonna have to run a exhaust fan / extraction fan to get the poo poo out of the bathroom, right? Right, great. That's fine, right? So, but I'm 4 years old at this point, right? Now, this bathroom was really elaborate. We made it really nice than what it is. But if you notice, there's one light switch, or there's two light switches here. Our bathroom had one. It ran both the light and the fan. And he turned that thing on, and I think the fan had come down out of the mount. It was laying on top of the grill inside the, and it made all kind of noises. I screamed bloody murder because I didn't know what was going on, and I ran to my mom. And the guy turns the light back off, and he's like, with a flashlight, he's like, we can disconnect that fan. We can. It's fine. We can disconnect it. Now, let's fast forward about 3 years, and there was a guy in here inspecting, and he goes up into the fan, and I had the fear of God in me because I'm afraid he's going to reconnect it. And he's in the fan. He's up in there. He's got the grill off of it, and he's in there, and he's with a flashlight, and he's, why is the fan disconnected? And my two brothers kindly explained to him why it was disconnected. And so he looks at me, and I look at him with puppy dog eyes, saying like, please, mister, please don't do it. Don't do it. And so he comes down off the ladder, and he didn't move. The ladder's still there. And so I followed him around. I shadowed him like a hawk just to make sure that when I wasn't looking, that he reconnected that fan, and I go to pee, and so I think something was wrong with it, and it wasn't replaced. Anyway, so that's that. Oh, to be a kid. Anyway, so this was our first room. As you can notice here, it was just me in the room, right? My other older brothers share the room, right? But as you notice, there's a bed and there's a cot in this room, for obvious reasons. And as I got older, about 5 or 6 years old, my mom was angry with me because I was still having issues and still needing to use the cot in the middle of the night. And I explained to her, I cannot help it. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just can't help it. Eventually, I had no need for the cot, and the cot went away, right? But, yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, so we modeled these dressers because this is the dressers that were in here. And we couldn't find anything similar, so we modeled it. The table there, this table was hilarious because if you went to move the table, the legs would fall off. It was plastic. It was all plastic. You pick the table up and all 4 legs would just fall to the ground. It's great. This was a conversation piece back in 1976. We had this LED clock. These were brand new. This is like when ABS came out and everything said ABS, or when fuel injection came out on the car and it said electronic fuel injection. Like, it was a thing. So when this clock came out, it was all the craze. When kids would come over, friends would come over, it was a conversation piece because it was brand spanking new. Anyway, that carpet there, that rug, was a lion rug. It had a mane all the way around it with a lion face. It was pretty cool. So I had a toy chest because eventually I moved in this room because my elder brother got the one bedroom, and then I shared this bedroom with my middle brother, right? So toy chest there. My brother would kick me out on Saturdays and close the door and play his funk records, and he wasn't the only one that closed his door. He would have a strobe light there, and he would play his George Clinton and Parliament and Gap Band and the like, right? Yeah. And so, yeah. So this basketball hoop here, it kept score, but that one doesn't. Of course it doesn't. But it was pretty neat. Me and my brother would shoot basketball, would shoot hoops. Yeah. Ceiling fan, right? We didn't have ceiling fans. There was no lights in the room, except for lamps. I just can't imagine being here and throwing stuff and getting trouble throwing stuff at the ceiling fan. Probably more times that, I have fingers, that I would get in trouble. And then eventually I'd throw stuff and probably lose those fingers eventually. Yeah, but me and my brother bonded. We would sit here, watch TV, cartoons. I also asked him if he would teach me how to play backgammon, which was in that case right there. And he never would teach me. I guess I was too young to learn it. And we bonded. Like, we had good times. But I had a phobia, guys. And don't judge. Please don't judge. I had a phobia of hairbrushes. And my brother knew that. And so this is the dark side of my brother. So one night we're playing an electronic football game. And I would, give him the game, and he'd pass it to me, and we'd do plays, right? Well, we went to sleep, and he had a hairbrush. And he was running his hands through the bristles, but he was still pretending he was asleep. And I'm like, what is that? That sounds like a hairbrush. I'm about 6, 7 years old. And he passes it up to the wall here, and he puts it against my leg. Again, he's still acting like he's asleep. And I'm petrified. The hairbrush. And so after about 45 minutes to an hour, I'm not moving. I haven't moved an inch. I can't go to sleep, And finally, I just said I had enough, and I took the hairbrush and I welded across the room, hit the clock, the lamp fell, it pinged the light bulb went out on it, and the clock fell. Now, he had a Bugs Bunny clock, and it talked, and it was talking on the floor like,
"Wake up, Doc. You asked me to call you, so here I am telling you it's time to wake up, Doc. No more sleeping. Get up. Get up, you sleepyhead. When you get up, I'll go back to bed."
My mom comes in and says, what the hell, what's going on? And yeah, so he got in trouble. I didn't. This door was shut to me on Saturday, so that was 2 doors. Both doors were shut. And I didn't understand why, but my mom needed me time, right? She needed me time. I understand that now. I didn't understand it at 6, 7 years old. I spent a lot of time with my mom. I was very clingy with my mom. And so I didn't understand that every Saturday until at least 6 o'clock, until she went down to do dinner, it was me time, And but on Sunday nights after dinner, we would come here and they would run like back-to-back Pink Panthers. And so my mom would let me sit here with her and watch Pink Panther. And then they would run this like Sunday night movies, right? And each network had it. It was different days. Some were Tuesday, some were Monday. And this network happened to be Sundays. And it was like movies that were in the theater that were no longer. Maybe like they were like 2, 3 years old. And then now they were running on the networks, right? So it was like Sunday night movies. Another network had Saturday, and another had like Wednesday or Monday. I don't know. It's too long ago. Anyway, so my mom had a BF in her life, a guy in her life, and he was really, he was a good part of her. Like he went to the open houses and the PTOs, and so he was a part of he just wasn't like fly by night, in and out and gone, and I took, he had a watch, and I took it off that dresser there. That's why I was pointing to that dresser. I took a watch off of that dresser, and I hid it in my bedroom. And then it was a Sunday, again, afternoon, and the next day I took it to school, right? And the teacher said, hey, where did you, he noticed it right as soon as I put it on my arm. He noticed it because it's hanging off my arm, right? I'm in 1st grade, and the teacher says, where did you get that watch? And I said, oh, I got it for Christmas. And I said, huh. And I didn't know it was a Rolex watch at the time. And the teacher said, well, is it your mom's boyfriend? He named him because the teacher knew him. He was present in our lives, right? And I said, no, it's not. He says, if I call home and I find out otherwise, you're probably going to be in trouble. So he did. He called home. Poor guy was still looking for his watch. He never went to work that day. And so he talked to the teacher, and he said, okay. The teacher wrapped it in tissue and put it in an envelope, and I took it home. And I gave it to him straight away. And I'm surprised that I'm still alive to talk about it. No, my punishment, I didn't get, I didn't get any leather or anything like that. Didn't get a hand to the back. No, my punishment for the weekend, I had to go in this room. This is the first room I stayed in, and take my toys, every last toy, out of the room, put it in this room, put it on the floor, all of them, okay, all of them, and I had to stay in there alone by myself, solitude for the weekend. I came out to get dinner, and that was it. I liked the Flintstones, so it was like one of my favorite cartoons, and it came on in the evenings on the weekday. And my mom cranks it, so that I can hear it. And I thought, well, that was very thoughtful for her. And I don't know if that was being thoughtful or just saying, "Ha, that's what you get." So I don't know. I didn't know, and I still didn't know what she meant by turning that up, just letting me hear it and being nice, or saying, "Well, that's what you get. Now you can't watch your favorite cartoon." But so I'll just, we'll rub it in your face, basically. Yeah. So that was great. That was, and so yeah, after that, I never did anything like that ever again. So, and of course now I'm an adult. Of course you don't steal, right? Obviously. But yeah, guys, that is the house, and that's the stories that came along with this house. I hope you enjoyed them. Again, if you have a first car or your childhood house, you're gonna have stories to come along with them to tell people. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stories. But we'll see you next week. Probably with a tutorial, just a beginner tutorial. We don't do it, So anyway, with that, I'm gonna fall down the stairs. But again, give it a like if you would, and a comment, and subscribe if you want. But yeah, that's it. Well, again, we'll see you next time. Signing off for now. Goodbye, everybody.